Good morning, everyone. My name is Nicholas Reid from Reid Corporate, and on behalf of DevEx Resources, ASX ticker DEV, it's my great pleasure to welcome you all to join us for this special investor webinar. Today's webinar is specifically focused on DevEx's uranium exploration assets and the company's upcoming exploration campaign at its Nabarlek Uranium Project in the Northern Territory, and for good reason. The uranium sector is currently experiencing an extraordinary renaissance, with spot prices rallying to 11-year highs, having doubled since mid-2019. The trend is being driven by a combination of deliberate hoarding of physical uranium and a lack of investment in new mines in the decade since the 2011 Fukushima incident. These trends have been further exacerbated by the reverberations emanating from the conflict in Europe and sanctions against Russia. Against this backdrop, investor interest in uranium stocks is well and truly on the rise, with over $1 billion worth of corporate deals announced last week alone. These included the $658 million merger of Deep Yellow and Vimy Resources, and Boss Energy closing in on a final investment decision on its Honeymoon uranium project in South Australia. So, in short, there could not be a better time for DevEx to be back in focus and on the radars of investors looking at the uranium space. The company, which is chaired by prominent mining entrepreneur Tim Goyder, already has significant exploration programs underway at its sovereign nickel-copper PGE project in the Julimar region of WA and the Junee copper-gold project in New South Wales. The Navalec project, which was in fact the company's foundation asset, comprises a very large and highly prospective tenement package in the Alligator Rivers Uranium Province of the Northern Territory, a region known for its world-class deposits with over 500 million pounds of uranium in mined and current resources. The project represents one of the very few high-grade uranium exploration opportunities in Australia, with DevEx's tenements surrounding the historical Nabarlek uranium mine. Before I introduce DevEx Managing Director Brendan Bradley to tell us what the next few months has in store for the company, I'd like to just remind everyone that's listening in, if you would like to put a question to Brendan, please use the Q&A tab on your webinar browser during his presentation. Log your question and we'll be sure to put all of them to Brendan after he concludes. So with that, it's a great pleasure to have Brendan Bradley on the Resources Rising Stars podium this morning, and I'd like to welcome him forward to present to you this morning. Brendan, welcome.
Well, thank you, Nicholas, and thank you to the team at Resources Rising Stars and investors tuning in here this morning. This is our usual disclaimer, which you can read at your own leisure. This presentation has already been uploaded on the ASX platform and also on our company website, so you can review this presentation at your leisure. So DevEx's primary goal is to deliver a discovery drill hole for its shareholders. Our core focus here is to bring together a portfolio of high-quality projects within Australia's most sought-after exploration regions. Each of these projects have their own unique merits and opportunities for our DevEx shareholders. In Western Australia, we're actively exploring the Sovereign project, located north of Chalice's recent nickel-copper PGE discovery at Gonaville. We're actively exploring this area, and recently we've now been able to define a very large mafic-ultramafic intrusion complex of over 12 kilometres long by 5 kilometres. We're on the ground, we're doing ground EM, looking for conductors, looking for signs of where we can see high-grade nickel-copper PGE mineralisation to drill. In the Eastern Australia, in the Lachlan Fold Belt, we're actively exploring for porphyry copper-gold deposits. We're in Australia's heartland of porphyry copper-gold deposits, which is the Macquarie Arc in Central Australia. We're actively got drilling at the moment, drilling the area. We've got 16,000 metres of air core, RC and diamond drilling currently underway. It's been underway since January, and we're looking forward to seeing the results from this drilling coming in over the next week or so, and along with the drilling that's still taking place right now. Meanwhile, as Nick has alluded to, the uranium price has started to surge. It's reaching prices of about $60 per pound uranium, and this has seen the spotlight now turn on to uranium projects. And we're better to explore than around the Nabarlek project, which was Australia's highest grade producing uranium mine in the 1980s, having produced 24 million pounds of uranium at a grade just shy of 2% uranium. It's a significant occurrence of uranium that's there, and what we have is a number of advanced greenfields to advanced exploration projects drilling a long strike or down plunge from some significant intercepts and also some early stage targets. DevEx offers one of the very few ASX listed companies that are listed on the Australian Stock Exchange looking for high grade uranium projects. And really you could count them on one hand, in my opinion. Looking into the Nabarlek project itself, it's a great opportunity to make new discoveries in the region. With 314 million shares on issue and trading above 40 cents at the moment, DevEx is well positioned to take advantage of any significant discovery of uranium mineralisation in the Alligator Rivers area. We've got $12.9 million in cash in the bank as of last quarter, and we're using this money wisely in exploration activity. Our focus is about discovery, and there's no other way to do that than with the drill bit. So that money is there. It's to push these three projects along. We're there to actively explore, and that 12.9 is there for that reason. And there's no point in having the cash without actually having a good team and a solid team of explorers. Led by our chairman and major shareholder, Tim Goyder. Tim has had resounding success over the last 2 years, being involved in numerous exploration discoveries, involved with Chalice Mining's discovery at Gonaville, and also he's the chairman at Liontown, which is with the drill bit has been able to grow a significant resource of lithium with Liontown Resources. Tim is well versed in how to go about making exploration discoveries and also importantly supporting the team that can lead to those discoveries. Myself, I'm a geologist by trade with over 25 years experience across commodities, involved in early stage exploration through to discovery, resource development and into mining. And similarly supporting me both in Eastern Australia with Chris Torrey looking after the Eastern Australian teams, and also Andrew Farrago, who has just joined the team. Andrew brings a wealth of experience, but especially rounds off our uranium experience. Andrew was part of the senior management team at Rio Tinto, focused on uranium exploration, both in the Northern Territory and also resource development in the Athabasca Basin. Andrew brings together a wealth of experience from uranium point of view. So we look forward to Andrew joining the team and leading the charge over the next 12 months as we bring drill rigs into the Northern Territory. So the spotlight is today on Nabarlek project, our uranium project in the Northern Territory. It's located within the Alligator Rivers Uranium Province. It's not called a uranium province without reason. Over 500 million pounds of uranium has been defined both in resources and also through mining of the projects up there. This is a big uranium heartland. It's comparable with the Athabasca Basin in Canada, and those familiar with the uranium scene understand what the Athabasca Basin is. It's a basin that continues to produce significant uranium deposits, tried and tested. With the investment that goes into these provinces, they deliver discoveries, and no better example than the Athabasca Basin than NextGen's ARUP discovery, which is a structurally hosted, high-grade uranium deposits, massive. And likewise with recent discoveries at Hurricane by ISO Energy, similarly showing what investment into the uranium provinces can actually deliver. So DevEx's Nabarlek project in the Alligator Rivers Uranium Project, Alligator Rivers Uranium Province, is located outside of the Kakadu National Park. We're in an area where we've got great relationships with the traditional owners and we're actively exploring. We've got 4,700 square kilometres of ground in the region, and that includes three granted exploration leases, including one mining lease, which is the Nabarlek mining lease. So it gives us the ability to hit the ground running, and that's what we're planning to do. Just to top it off and just to explain, in the area, as I mentioned, there's a very limited group of explorers exploring for high-grade uranium, and those that are very active in the Alligator Rivers province. DevEx Resources, naturally, we've got the lion's share of the projects surrounding the Nabarlek area, and likewise with Vimy Resources, who are now under a merger opportunity with Deep Yellow, and Alligator Energy, who are also exploring the area. Both 300 plus million market cap companies. DevEx is well placed for exploration success as we move forward this year with our drilling plans in the region. So as I mentioned with the Alligator Rivers Uranium Province, this is a uranium mining jurisdiction. This is an area that has seen uranium mining for well over 50 years. People understand what uranium mining is up there. It's well supported, and locally at Nabarlek, as we mentioned, we have a great support network from this jurisdiction. Naturally, Nabarlek was mined in the 80s, and as a result, we're able to enjoy significant infrastructural support, including an all-weather bitumen airstrip right outside our doorstep of our exploration camp. You can land the plane and you can walk over to the exploration camp in the area, or if we're drilling, we're going to be walking straight to the drill rigs, and that's where we plan to be active in the region. We have a great infrastructure and support network of roads, and likewise, we have great support from the traditional owners of the area. The traditional owners here and their family have been involved with Nabarlek since mining took place in the 1980s. They had a positive experience. They lived and they worked out on site, and they're certainly keen to see more exploration going on and more discoveries for uranium mineralisation in the area. And DevEx was active. We were active looking for uranium previously to the downturn in the uranium price. DevEx bought the Nabarlek mineral lease and associated infrastructure in the area, and we purchased that, and we got going with exploration early in 2008. And that exploration was building momentum. Discoveries were happening. We were actually making discoveries at prospects like U40, where high-grade uranium was being found, and we were leading into a broader exploration project when the Fukushima event took place. And as people are well aware, that started the massive decline in the uranium price and has seen the uranium in the doldrums until this year, when the uranium price is now nudging $60 a pound. So, from my point of view, we're keen to get out there this year with drilling, and it's time to power up. The actual Navalec project and where we're centred on, where we're planning to be exploring, the image you see here just shows the prospects that we've got, where the uranium mineralisation is occurring. It's surrounding the Navalec mine. Again, 24 million pounds at 1.84% uranium was discovered and produced from Navalec. We have numerous targets in the immediate vicinity surrounding the Navalec project, the Nabarlek gold deposit that's there. We've got advanced targets and early stage targets in the region, and there's no better place than exploring the districts surrounding an existing deposit such as Nabarlek. And what's it all about? Just to explain, this is a snapshot of what the Nabarlek mine looked like. It's all about the grade, where grade is king. You hear it in the gold story, well, it's no different in uranium. To us, grade is king. And when you look at the cross section on the right, the Nabarlek deposit, which was mined out in the 80s, intercepts such as 19 metres at over 10% uranium is not uncommon from this deposit. 24 million pounds was mined from this deposit, and the bulk of it sits on the northern part of the pit, where this high-grade pod on the left-hand side, the long section, shows what that high-grade pod looks like, where the bulk of those pounds had been produced from. It's controlled by this North Fault. The North Fault is an area where the best of the grades was seen, and we see this as a key controlling structure in the area. And just to emphasise this, on the left-hand side, you can see the scale bar down there at 25 metres. It's a very tight, contained pod of significant uranium mineralisation. You can be drilling just on the outside and getting 0.1% uranium over 5 metres, and then literally within 10 to 20 metres, you're right in the heart of this deposit. And that means, from our point of view, when we focus on other uranium intercepts, what significant intercepts mean to us, well, those sort of grades could lead into another Nabarlek very easy, and these are the areas we're starting to focus on. So no better place to explore than around the pit itself, and we're seeing a clear target on the northeastern edge of the Nabarlek project, on the Nabarlek pit boundary. In that area, this image shows the Nabarlek pit outline. It shows the position of that North Fault and where we see it trending. We can see that the uranium, high-grade uranium, is controlled by that North Fault there. And what we're seeing there with the colours, you're seeing this is a radiometric image from ground radiometrics, recording counts per second from uranium on the ground. This is pre-mining radiometrics. So we're seeing this tail following the North Fault of uranium mineralisation counting off at the surface. That tail is poorly drilled, and we want to go in there with the drill rigs and target that northeastern edges there inside of those yellow boxes. We know there's uranium mineralisation along trend and further along strike, and it's a very clear drill target for us. Stepping out in scale, but not very far, a kilometre to the southeast at the Nabarlek South project. This again represents a very similar structural position to the Nabarlek project. The uranium mineralisation can be very clearly seen occurring on these structural corridors, and no better than at Nabarlek South, which is a mirror image to the Nabarlek deposit where you see these intersecting faults that are containing uranium. We're seeing a cluster of high-grade uranium mineralisation occurring at that intersection. The image here is of Nabarlek South zooming in 3 dimensions. You're looking to the southeast, to the southwest, and what you're seeing is the Nabarlek fault on the right-hand side, that olivey plane, and then the blue is the Gabo fault, again a fault that contains uranium mineralisation. We're seeing a cluster of uranium mineralisation occurring at that junction between these two faults, plunging at the intersection of those two faults lineation. And we're seeing intercepts such as 35 metres at 0.3% uranium, including several intercepts at over 1%, undrilled, untested, down plunge from. We want to go into that cluster with the drill rigs, drill that cluster out and drill down plunge, and seeing how this uranium pod can grow and hopefully grow into something greater than what Nabarlek would be. And that's what, again, a priority drill target for the drill rigs this year. Get into there and start drilling out this cluster and following it down plunge. So very simple, drilling along strike from existing mineralisation. Great target from our point of view. Looking in within the corridors and the corridors trends, there is numerous uranium intercepts that DevEx had been involved with pre-Fukushima leading into that downturn, and no better place to look at than at U40 prospect, where 6 metres at 7% uranium had been identified together with copper mineralisation and gold mineralisation, looking very similar to a nearby deposit on the regional map like Coronation Hill. These corridors become very clear targets for drill testing. They're poorly tested at the moment. We'd only really just gotten started with this when the downturn in the uranium price had hit us last time, and just focusing in on this area. What we've been able to do last year was compile all the regional data sets from the 80s, from the 70s, from the 90s, bring it all together, hard copy plans and the like. And one of the key data sets that we see in this that is of adding value to us is a very regional Expiration data set of radon track etch sampling. 25,000 samples have been collected from this area. Those not familiar with radon track etch, to be in summary on this, is that it's very similar to a geochemical technique. Whether you're exploring for gold or copper, it's a surface sample that records the amount of radon gas coming through the surface. Uranium deposits that are buried produce through their decay cycle to lead radon gas, and that works its way through to the surface. This is a tried and proven technique in the uranium industry, well versed in, and no better does it show that it works than here at Nabarlek, where a radon anomaly at U40 was seen. It was drilled by DevEx, and intercepts such as 6 metres at 7% uranium was encountered. We see that corridor trending down to the Zeus project to the right-hand side of that image there, where again another radon track etch anomaly has not been properly drilled by RC drilling. One traverse of RC went into that Zeus prospect there, and we intersected copper mineralisation into that area in the 80s. And what we're saying is that when you go back to look at U40, you can see that there's copper associated with uranium. The drilling down there intersects copper, but no uranium just yet. We think that's unanswered and very clearly a target for us to drill those radon anomalies. And again, stepping into earlier stage targets like the KP prospect, located within that Nabarlek corridor that hosted by the North Fault and the Gabo Fault. Very similar orientation to Nabarlek, a strong radon track etch anomaly sitting there that has got no drilling whatsoever into it. So we're building these projects forward. They're from early stage right through to advanced, exploring along strike for some very significant uranium intercepts. So to round it all off, we've established a very experienced team of explorers, both uranium explorers and multi-commodity explorers. We've brought Andrew Farragut in, who's got that experience with the team. He's supported by a network of geologists. DevEx has 8 geologists working for them for us at the moment, and that is across the projects that we have. So we're able to maintain strong focus in the west and in the east, and now in the Nabarlek with the spotlight on Nabarlek. We've got several attractive uranium targets all ready to go. We've got the Nabarlek pit edge anomaly that's there. No better place to explore than on the edge of a pit. We've got the Nabarlek South, where we're exploring a cluster uranium mineralisation. If we can keep that plunge continuing, if we can continue to show size to that drilling, that drilling of that plunger cluster of mineralisation, then it's not inconceivable to say that we're going to start to be able to put some volume around that. But we need to drill the holes first, and likewise within the Zeus to U40 corridor, and then also advancing these radon-cup anomalies, which are really surface geochemical anomalies. They're undrilled, they look very attractive, and we just didn't get going enough earlier before pre-Fukushima, and now's the time to power up and get going with the exploration. We're in advanced discussions with drillers. We expect to have contracts finished up in the next week or two, and likewise, we're planning for drilling commencing in June and July. And that's the start of it. We've got about 8,000 metres to immediately go into those targets and start drilling of RC and diamond drilling, and we expect that to grow, and likewise maintaining a focus and maintaining that activity at Sovereign, where the ground EM is underway. It's still going, it's got a way to go, and we're looking for conductors associated with nickel copper PGE mineralisation, and also the 16,000 metres RC diamond and air core at Junee at our Nangus prospect. That's still going, and we're looking forward to seeing the results over the next couple of weeks. And thanks to Nick and Resources Rising Stars.
Brendan, let's kick off with a question just about the conditions up there. You had a great slide showing an airstrip or a runway, and we tend to forget that this is a near mine, this is a historic mine, so there's presumably some good infrastructure, and this isn't like going into the sort of the outback and exploring. There's actually a lot of infrastructure there. Can you talk us through the conditions up there and what it's like to operate at Nabarlek?
Yeah, I think that image sort of shows we're not in massive hilly country. It's very flat plain exploration activity. So, we're not working around cliff edges and the like. We're exploring in easy traversable terrain in the area. It's naturally in the Northern Territory, but that all-weather airstrip gives us the ability to get on the ground all seasons as we go through there, and there's a wealth of roads to the area. From my point of view, the best is that we've got positive relationships with the traditional owners up there, and we've got great support from them. So the ease of getting on the ground is well established already. It's already been built with DevEx and our engagement with the owners in the area.
Thanks, Brendan. We've got a question from an investor who's asked if you can talk us through the program in a bit more detail, how many drill rigs you're planning to have, and perhaps also just a bit of detail around the order in which you'll tackle some of those prospects that you outlined.
Oh, sure. I mean, the targets are very clear in the immediate area of the pit. So that's where the drill rigs are planned for. Right now, we're talking about one rig, and we believe that we probably need 2 rigs to get this 8,000 metres down. We want to move as quickly as possible. Rigs are always a scarce commodity, but the drillers we've spoken to have rigs available, and the time frame fits them, and so we think we should have that squared away. So ideally, we'll see 2 drill rigs up there, and we'll be working hard at it this year.
Thanks, Brendan. Just a question about the history up there. So you explained obviously very well about why nothing's happened from an exploration perspective in the last decade. What about in the previous period of operations at Nabarlek in the 70s? Was there any reason that exploration stopped around the mine itself?
Yeah, sure, Nick. So Navalec was found through airborne surveys. It outcropped. It was very obvious, and it was found in the 60s. And then the licenses were granted for mining, the license that we currently have. It was mined in 1980 through to 1988. During that time, the Aboriginal land rights agreements and the ARUP was taking place, and exploration outside of the immediate mine area was not permitted for some time. It was only in the last year of mining at Nabarlek and producing at Nabarlek that the people that held the Nabarlek mining lease and the granted tenements around were actually allowed to explore. And so they spent a lot of money between 1988 and 1999 looking for exploration, and then mining dried up and then exploration stopped. And this hiatus of exploration activity has been going on for some time. DevEx bought the mining lease, saw the opportunity back in 2008, and then got going with exploration. And then, of course, we're hit with that downturn in uranium price. And as a result, exploration again pared back. Nobody really cares that much when you're at $20 a pound about uranium and you're looking for something high of 60. So what we see is now that the dynamics look really good. We want to get in there and rebuild that momentum.
Thanks, Brendan. Question from an investor here. He asks, how long would it take to complete the 8,000 metre drill campaign?
We're seeing several months of drilling out at Nabarlek.
And likely timing of results?
The usual sort of laboratory challenges that are always there. We like to sort of say with the labs 6 to 8 weeks. We've got a good relationship with one of the laboratories that do turnaround. So usually 6 to 8 weeks. Drilling starts, it's going to go through multiple exploration targets, multiple campaigns through there. But the main thing is once that drill rig's out there, it's there to stay for a period of time. So the team's ready to go.
Thanks very much, Brendan. I've got a question here that's going to put you on the spot a bit. Question is, Brendan, how would you rate the exploration success probability of Navalec compared to the company's other projects?
Yeah, thanks, Nick. It's like asking which of my kids I like the most, and they've all got their great attributes. They've all got their own unique merits, and these 3 projects have all got their own merits for discovery. I think the point that I'd like to sort of say is that these are all, infancy sort of projects, even Knoblak in its own right, given the hiatus. Whether you're at Sovereign, we're exploring a brand new area that now has got a major discovery in the area, and we're exploring in an area that nobody's ever looked for. It's got its potential to grow dramatically once we get that discovery hole in. At Junee, likewise, we've got a very attractive looking early stage anomaly that we're drilling right now. We've got results that we have seen from our previous aircore drilling. We're waiting for those results. And Nablek's pretty straightforward. You're exploring already in a very well endowed terrain. You're exploring on the edge of a uranium deposit that's already there. So it's already proven that this area can produce significant uranium mineralization at very high grades. And I'll tell you, grade's king. So I think Nablek's got a very good probability chance of success here.
Thanks, Brendan. There's a few questions about assays. You've partly touched on this, but the question here is, will the assays, where will they be done? And if in WA, are we looking at long delays? And perhaps a sort of an extension to that is the fact that uranium exploration, you mentioned a small pool of companies involved in it. Does that mean assays in uranium would be quicker, say, than copper, gold, nickel, gold, etc.?
Yeah, look, the assay challenge is always at the preparation stage. It really doesn't, I don't think it matters whether you're exploring for gold, copper, or whatever. It's how you prepare those samples and getting those samples prepped. We've got a good relationship with the lab that we've been using for several years. We're able to see that prep take place routinely, and we see generally a 6 to 8 week turnaround time. Give or take the challenges that everyone's faced with everything else that's there. That's what we're looking for. We drill the core, we cut the core, we get the core off, and we get those results through. This is an ongoing exploration campaign up at Nabarlek, likewise with our other projects. So we just see the results when they come in. We expect a good turnaround time of around about 6 to 8 weeks, give or take.
Thanks, Brendan. And the questions are coming in thick and fast. Thanks very much, everyone, for participation. Please keep them coming. Question from one of our long-standing RRS friends over in Brisbane. Are you talking to any product purchasers at this stage?
Right now, our purpose is to drill out these uranium occurrences. So let's get the volume sorted out, and then we can talk to people about that once we've put volumes around and start talking about resource drilling. So right now, that's our focus, and that's where we need to be. We're about discovery and getting some significant intercepts in for our shareholders.
Thanks, Brendan. Another question here. Can you give us a quick update on when the next updates are due on Junee and Julimar, please?
Yeah, look, we're actively out there. We're drilling at Junee right now. We're part of a 16,000 metre program. We expect to start to see the assay results really start to flow in now over the next week or two, and we look forward to seeing those results, and we'll update the market when we see them. Meanwhile, at Julimar, it's about the EM. What we're looking for is the low-hanging fruit. We're looking for those conductors. Once we get those conductors, then we can bring the drill rigs in and start drilling those conductors, and we'll update the market when we see something quite solid and ready to drill.
Fantastic. And Brendan, one other question that was emailed to us before we started. Can you just talk through the company's balance sheet and funding position and how well placed you are to pursue these programs across 3 fairly significant projects?
Sure, Nick. Right now, we've got, as of last quarter, we've got $12.9 million in the bank. We're drilling right now, so we're eating into that. But nonetheless, we're well funded for the exploration that we plan to take forward at the start at Nabarlek and also with the other projects.
Fantastic. And look, just one final one, Brendan, just perhaps bring it home for everyone. We've emphasised a number of times that there's not a lot of exposure opportunities to uranium exploration for reasons which are pretty obvious. Can you just perhaps leave us with your take on the DevEx investment proposition? I think you mentioned there's really only 3 companies in this area that are possible entries to this space. Why DevEx, and why is this an exciting time for the company?
All right, look, just to answer that first, is in the uranium scene, is that there's very few companies exploring for high-grade uranium. If as I said, on one hand, what we are is when you compare us and you do your own research on DevEx versus other explorers, we see ourselves as a value proposition. Nobody is out there. Alligator Rivers Uranium Province is one of the very few provinces in Australia that delivers high-grade uranium. And so when you look at the explorers in the area, I think DevEx looks like a great value proposition for shareholders. They're advanced targets. We're drilling a long strike for mineralisation. We have existing deposit that was mined in the 80s within our portfolio, and we've got granted tenements. It's a great spot to be exploring for high-grade uranium at the pit edge, as far as that goes. Broadly speaking, within the other projects that are there, I think that what we're offering our shareholders is a strong momentum of exploration activity with drilling. We're always about maintaining momentum, but we're building that momentum as we explore. We see our best chance for our shareholders is to deliver a discovery and see the growth of DevEx through that discovery. We're in some great jurisdictions. We're in great areas that have been poorly explored beforehand, whether it's a Junee or Sovereign, or likewise at Nabarlek, and that opportunity for what a drill hole really means as far as how do you constrain it when there's no other drilling around it? How do you constrain something like that? The opportunity to grow is very, very large. So that's my take on the view, is that we've got a great team of geologists that are exploring all 3 projects this year, and we're in for a chance. It's a great success. That's our view.
Thanks very much to Brendan for joining us this morning. Well, there you have it, a well-credentialed, well-funded and very well-known exploration company in DevEx. Many of you know about the company's Julimar and Junee projects where active exploration is underway, and I hope today we've had the opportunity to put on your radar a third dimension to that story, which is the upcoming exploration at the Navalec project in the Northern Territory, in a sector that is very much experiencing a renaissance of interest and excitement at the moment. So fantastic times ahead for DevEx. Thank you very much, everyone, for joining us this morning. Thank you for your questions, and we look forward to joining you again at our next presentation. Thank you. Have a good day.